folks! My name is Carissa Mimrick, and as you know, if you've watched the previous video, I was cast in one of my dream roles. I was cast as Clara Johnson in Light in the Piazza. Now, this performance is going to happen in August of this year, so I have plenty of time to get ready, but I want to go through the process of how I'm going to prepare for that role with you guys. I said in my last video that I wanted to grow out my hair so that I could have long blonde hair just like the character Clara Johnson. Here's the thing though. I got that priced at a salon that I really respect and trust, and it would have cost so much money to not only dye my hair that color, but for upkeep of that color. So I ultimately decided it wasn't a good decision to dye my hair. However, I will go ahead and touch on the plus side of having short hair as an ingenue is that you can buy a wig. I'm actually going to buy a really nice long blonde wig that will look good for the performance. I'm going to invest in that for myself as an ingenue because I hopefully will be making videos with it. I will be performing with it in other entities. No big deal, update, not gonna grow my hair out and dye it blonde because I would have better luck actually cutting all of my hair off and then starting over, according to my hairstylist who is extremely wise and I totally trust her. Because red hair is the antithesis of blonde hair. Fun facts. So, on to the actual content of how I'm going to learn this role, right? So I have a little bit of time before I go into rehearsals. It's going to be this summer when I go into rehearsals, which hopefully I'll be taking you with me on those rehearsals as well in Houston, Texas. Now, I would like to talk about role prep. What do you do when you first start, right? There's so many different ways to go about learning a role. What I like to do is I like to start with the story. I'm a huge story person. I love to see the full arc of the character and I like to know what the character is about. So a lot of times, and this is totally the right way to go if you want to do this, you go to Wikipedia and you look up the synopsis. Very simple, very easy, very surface level. Cool? So if there's anything, not right on Wikipedia, you at least get the general idea of like what it's about, right? But beyond Wikipedia, you go to like certain websites that are about these shows and about giving information about these shows. But I would look up the synopsis of the show, figure out what it is about the show. What does your character do? What is their role in the show? A lot of times it's really good to also look at what their type is. For Clara Johnson, Clara in Light in the Piazza is an ingenue. And an ingenue is a leading female character usually that is a love interest, right? She's always the girl in the musical that's like, no, I don't want to fall in love, but then she does. Or she's just like, oh no, I'm blissfully unaware. Oh wait, I'm in love now. Usually it's the people that are young and pretty and people like to root for them. Cool. I, as an actress, consider myself an ingenue. However, I tell all of my students that I consider myself a quirky ingenue because I like to kind of play characters that have just a little bit odd turn or, like oddity to them, despite them being an ingenue. So figuring out exactly what the synopsis is, where you fit in the story, and what your function is as a character is super important because that's going to inform your acting choices, your singing choices, your everything choices. And then what you do is you are going to find the score. Now, for plays, that could mean like the entire play. But for musicals, it means you find the libretto and you find the score. And for operas, that means you find the entire score, right? So I know for musical theater, you're gonna have to find a full libretto as well, right? Sometimes they can be found online, but really you need to be going to your director and asking where you get that libretto or where you get that score. And you start working as soon as you can. For opera people, We're lucky. A lot of our stuff is actually in public domain, but don't let that fool you. A lot of times in the operatic world, what people don't tell you is that you have to get a very specific scholarly score that has all of the certain things that scholars have added through the years to inform the singer on what exactly needs to be done in the score to be historically and musically correct. Now, if you talk to your music director, you will find out what score you need to get. I promise they'll know exactly which one they want you to get. And that's how you start to get your actual score. Light in the Piazza is a musical, technically, but I would consider it a crossover piece. And so what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have the libretto and the score. These are my materials that I'm going to have for Light in the Piazza. I'll start with my libretto. I found this on Amazon. It's very easy to find. You just look up Light in the Piazza and libretto. What the heck? How do you spell that word, right? I think it's Libretto. You are going to search that word and the name of your show online. And I really hope that you buy it. I know that it's easy to find it online sometimes, but if you buy the official one, usually that's the most updated one and that's the one that people actually go by. So it kind of depends on if your teacher is actually supplying it to you or if you have to kind of find it on your own. I found it on my own because I wanted to study this character, and I've actually auditioned for this character twice now. And the first time I auditioned for it, I months in advance was actually preparing with this libretto. Yeah, I would buy a libretto. Now, this is my score. I have the full orchestrated copy of it. And it has all of the movements. Like, it's very, very, like, orchestration heavy. Like, it's actually kind of a piano realization, but it's got like it will show you where certain instruments play in the orchestra. Now, why as a musical theater person is it important to have an orchestration score, right? Now, sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't. For a show like Light in the Piazza, that is very classically rooted. I would get the full orchestrated score because what you're doing is you're informing your decisions based on what the orchestra is doing. And that is so important. If you see like a little figure there, I say figure, if you see like a little like cluster of black ink, which is notes on the score, that like the flute is playing, you need to understand that like maybe that's your introduction, or maybe that's like something that's going on in your character's head, but you have to know what part of the orchestra is actually giving you that information. That's super important. So in my book, I have the full score, but that's not all. When I do my character study, I have done an introduction monologue, a secret of Clara Johnson, a super objective, a perspective of others, and a historical context. I've written this all down on this sheet of paper, and that's not all. I also have done my scene objectives for all of my scenes and my obstacles and where and why in all of my scenes. I'm very specific about what I want, what needs to happen. I've also written in all of my actions for my big songs. As you can see, I have my Stanislavski kind of just, which Stanislavski is a person who created this acting technique that is based in action verbs in order to inform what the character is doing. I really like it, and I can actually go a little bit more into that if you would like in the future. But I've done a ton of work to kind of show what this character is. And there's plenty of acting techniques to do that. And the thing is like, your teachers probably are already teaching you this stuff. It's just hard to instill it. Because when we learn a role, we have like 3 or 4 months to do it. And we freak out and we just try to memorize as much as we can. But the first thing we always do as little theater kids is we go through all of our lines and we count how many lines we have compared to everybody else. Don't do that. Don't be that guy. Go through, figure out who your character is, figure out what their story is, and figure out how you're gonna tell that story. Because that is gonna make a world of difference when you come into those rehearsals. You're gonna know exactly where you want your character to go. And when you're on stage, it's gonna be very clear that you know exactly what you wanna do with that character. So in conclusion, when you are starting to prep a role, make sure that you have all of your materials ready. Your libretto, your score, your play. Make sure you have all of it and make sure it's all complete. Then find out where your character functions within the bigger, greater story that you are going to put on with all of your colleagues. Thank you for watching, and I will be giving more updates on how I'm going to be preparing for the role of Clara Johnson in Light in the Piazza. Light in the pizza.